Hello everybody, it's me from Porch Sitting again. How y'all doing? I'm doing pretty good. I'm going to talk a little bit about Hunter Biden and the Trump lumps, shall we? So what we're going to go on about is how the Republicans, Comer and Maggoty Trader, that friggin' scarecrow from Georgia there, Matt Gaetz, they're all chomping at the bit, Jim Bag Jockstrap. Well, we're going to get Hunter Biden. We're going to get him with something. But everything that they've brought up and brought all these witnesses to Congress, there's nothing to get. There's just not. So anyway, Hunter Biden is just a rank amateur when it comes to the Trump lumps. I'm just saying. They learned at the foot of the master, Roy Cohen, who also taught their dad. So if there's a dirty way to get something done, Trump will find somebody to do it for him because you can't get your hands dirty, right? So anyway, both Ivanka and Donald Jr. Were being investigated in 2012. It all happened in Soho, New York. Apparently, they were going to build another bankrupt hotel, because most of them go bankrupt. They built it just in time for the 2008 recession. That's right. Which Obama bailed everybody out of, and when Trump set his ass into the White House, it was a nice uptick in the economy, which he took credit for, right? So anyway, while you're here, give us a little subscribe, would you please? I'd appreciate that, and how about a thumbs up and maybe a share? Doesn't hurt to ask, and I appreciate it. So anyway, Don Jr. was busy doing all the press for the hotel in Soho, and he said a lot of the overseas investors came pouring in from Russia. That's right. This was Vanky and Jr.'s coming out party in 2008 for their big first venture. So he was doing all the press and stuff. All the ads made sure that they were also in Russian. Just saying. And Vanky was the eye candy. She sucked all these oligarchs in. She was selling these condos for $1.2 million and lied her ass off to all the investors and prospects that there was over 60% of those units were sold. And they were moving really quick. So if you wanted in on the ground floor, you better hurry up. It was all lies. Surprised? Don't be. But it turns out that when the building was finished in 2010, the high demand, there was only 15.8% of those units that were actually sold. ProPublica reported all this stuff. And the two Trump lumps were on the verge of being charged with felony fraud. Now, dozens of emails passed through the prosecutors and believed that it showed that Vanky and Donald Trump Jr. lied to the investors, which they did because they were on TV in front of news cameras doing it. Now, after 2 years of investigating, Mark Kasowitz, the Mango Moose Knuckle's lawyer, he tried everything to get this case dropped. He actually donated $25,000 to re-elect Cy Vance of the Manhattan District Attorney's Office, which Cy Vance promptly said, I don't want his money, send that back. I'm not being involved in that. So Kasowitz paid an in-person visit to Cy Vance to get the case, the investigation dropped. But ironically, less than 6 months later, the investigation and the case was dropped. Kasowitz then thought it was a celebration and donated almost $30,000 to Cy Vance's campaign and hosted a big fundraiser for him, which Cy Vance again denied and sent him packing. Take your money with you and go. Now, Vanky and Jr. got away from a federal indictment because apparently the witnesses wouldn't cooperate. Imagine how easy it was for them to run scams while the Mango Moose Knuckle was president because of a fluke or a joke or whatever. Christ, even he couldn't believe he was elected, for Christ's sake. It's no secret that Javanka made almost $700 million while working as senior advisors to the President of the United States of America. Most of the money came from China. Just saying, because she got something like 30 trademarks for them. One's for friggin' caskets, another one for Trump-branded voting machines. Please, God, don't let them come around. But anyway, yeah, just shortly after leaving the White House, the Kush was gifted $2 billion from the Saudis. I'm thinking for services rendered. A couple little pieces of paper, Qatar, yeah, blockages all of a sudden. They give money to his building, blockages lifted. Yeah. But anyway, then there was a place called Panama. And the Trump lumps were off again. Vanky hooked up with a fraudster that worked for the Mango Moose Knuckle and people in that realm. And Vanky got her first hotel in the Panama International, which was her first hotel venture. Okay? Now, the broker was also a money launderer and was also in business with 2 criminals from Russia. She was in charge and knew all about who was who and what they were doing and who their names were, because their name's on the paperwork. Just saying. And she was also handling the Trump org's involvement in the Panama Development Project, Trump's organization, and she was leading it. So you got to think that she's supposed to be this big savvy businesswoman. She would know what was what, right? Now, the broker she hired, Noriega, was responsible for 1/3 to half of all the sales. And she was doing all the interior designing and shit like that. Noriega was also worked for some Colombians who were convicted of money laundering. Catching a pattern here? And a Russian investor was arrested in Israeli for kidnap. A Ukrainian who was arrested for people smuggling while working with Noriega and jailed in Kyiv. 2017, the White House legal officer, who was in power in 2017. Can you say daddy? Who's your daddy? That's right. The legal officer, no one in the Trump organization, including the Trump family, has any recollection of ever meeting or speaking with this individual. Because of course not, right? Why would they? Noriega said, I didn't know that the money was coming from anything illegal. As long as they were doing wire transfers and not cash, I wasn't worried about the source of it. No one asked him about the fund sources. Nobody ever asked me. The banks didn't ask. Panama developers didn't ask. The Trump organization didn't ask me. And in my opinion, they didn't have to ask, because they all knew and just turned a blind eye for it, because they were raking in the millions. That's right. The Trumps, as both civilians and White House advisors, and even the Mango Moose Knuckle himself, have been taking Russian and Chinese and Indian money for years. Trump Towers, this makes me want to dry heave. Delhi, India. This is the blurb they have for the Trump Towers Delhi, NCR. Be characterized by the iconic twin towers, rising 600 feet. That will be the tallest towers in the region. Trump Tower, Mumbai, is not owned by the Trumps. Only his name is put on the building. These Indian properties only use his name and mark under license, which may be revoked or terminated according to its terms. So with him, with all these indictments, they're going to be ripping his names off those buildings. He's not going to get any more little goodies. But imagine that. Trump Tower, Delhi, 600 feet, not owned, built, or run by a Trump. Trump Tower, 664 feet, 58 stories, not 68. And he's dwindling in cash there because he owns almost nothing in it, because he gave it all to the Chinese, couple Russians, but the Chinese, and when he was advertising for units there, he had them all translated into Chinese as well. Twin towers were 1,368 feet, and the South Tower was 1,362 feet. And when they came down, Trump actually had the gall to say, well, I guess Trump Tower's the tallest building in New York now. Because he's a prick. Just saying. But sure, Hunter Biden, right? Anyway, Johnny Nana loves you. Be good, be safe, be good to you first so you can be good to somebody else. Thumbs up, give us a subscribe. Love y'all.